Welcome along. Hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world today. So my last video was an unboxing of Commander Legends, and I thought I'd follow it up with a deck full of legends led by the Legend of Legends. There's only one EDH general that I know of who can create multiple legendary creatures on entry. I speak of the Stangg twins. Of course, 6 mana for 2, 3, 4 warriors. I've got the old print representing the twin token, and the new modern, more recent printing of good old Stangg. This artwork really reminds me of the mountain from Game of Thrones for some reason. So a lot of the deck is slanted towards that legendary battle archetype. So most of the creatures in the deck will be legendaries. There are going to be a few that I was able to pull from the Commander Legends unboxing. So a few of them have made the cut for the deck. Limited, of course, to the Gruul colors, but I was surprised at the number of legendary creatures available in green and red. But to start with for the deck tech, I will begin with the non-basic lands. So typical Gruul package with a couple of tapped lands, including Temple of Abandon, the Gruul Turf, Gruul Guildgate, so representing the colors wholeheartedly. They're the only two lands that I feel like are worth talking about. Are one, Mobilized District. So from a more recent set, so it adds colorless, but the great thing I like about Mobilized District is its secondary ability, where it can transform into a 3/3 creature for 4 mana, but that cost is reduced by the number of legendary creatures on the battlefield. So Stangg alone can deduct that by 2. And the other land, the other non-basic land that I really like is Mountain Stronghold. I really feel that fits with the Stangg twins Gruul theme. I don't have the other one, the one that does the green legendary banding, but with Mountain Stronghold, all your red legends may band with other legends. So with this land on the battlefield, you can enable the Stangg twins to fight as one, so to speak. I have to confess, I don't really fully understand the banding rule myself. It's been a long time since I've had to worry about that mechanic, but once this land hits the battlefield, that's more my opponent's concern, as we duck to our phones trying to sort out what the mechanic actually involves. So I'm going to move on into the creature base first of all. So as I said at the start of the video, most of the creatures are going to be legendaries. From the very low end of the curve with a Zergo Bellstriker here at 1, all the way up to a really high mana cost. So the deck is fairly mana intensive, so I have a few artifacts that will support that, but but we'll start with the legendary support here. So I'm generally going to have a legendary creature on the battlefield at some point. So at the lower end we've got Zergo Bellstriker for a 2/2 who can't block, but that's not much of a drawback. Karizev. What I like about Karizev is that when she attacks, she puts in another legendary. So the 2/1 monkey comes onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. So you get a 2-for-1 as well, much like the Stangg twins. Sir Farron the Hengehammer. Modern printing. I really like this card. My intention is to actually build a deck committed to Sir Farron as the commander. I like this mechanic of another target attacking creature gets +X/+X. That really puts some early game pressure on your opponent's life total and on the creatures that they might have on the battlefield. Rada, heir to Keld, so in the Gruul colors, really good multi-purpose creature. She adds mana no matter what she does, so that's always something to be admired. Reiki, the History of Kamigawa. So this is the ultimate legendary support card. Whenever you play a legendary spell, draw a card. So a spell, so it can be a creature or it can be any of the numerous other legendary spells and permanents that I have in the deck. Dozan the Falling Leaf. So that rules out instants, but it also puts the game back on your own terms, given that this deck is very battlefield focused. So I really want to shut down my opponent's ability to do things during my combat step. So Valduk, Keeper of the Flame, 3/1 elementals at the beginning of your combat step for each equipment that's equipped to Valduk. So has some synergy with a few creatures and permanents in the deck, and also has some synergy with Stangg's ability to create replicas or doubles of himself. So really going wide on the battlefield is the whole purpose of this deck. And I like Valduk for that purpose. So there are a number of equipments that are here to support that theory. Captain Lannery Storm. What I like about her is when she attacks, she creates a colorless treasure token. So because this deck is very mana intensive, you know, any opportunity or any way that I can get extra additional mana onto the battlefield passively, ideally keeps that mana curve ticking up. Brothers Yamazaki. So the legendary rules, or the rules of EDH rather, prevent you from having multiple Brothers of Yamazaki in the deck, but I do have some clone spells here to overcome that. But as long as there are exactly 2 permanents named Brothers Yamazaki, the legend rule doesn't apply to them. And each other creature named Brothers Yamazaki gets +2/+2 and has haste. So neat little legendary for 3. Tuk the Explorer. Tuk himself is not that powerful as a 1/1. But when he dies, you create a 5/5 colorless Goblin Golem that is itself a legendary. So I'm always putting a legendary down. So from Commander Legends, the first one I've put in here is Tuya Bearclaw. I like her, much like Sir Farron the Hengehammer. She powers up your attacking forces, and you know, there are multiple ways in here to increase her own power. Radha, Heart of Keld, really great card. I really like this card. I went all in on Radha. I've put her in a couple of EDH decks, and she's great in terms of her mana ramp. So she gives you the ability to look at the top card of your library, and if it's a land, you can put it onto the battlefield. So it's a great way to accelerate and a great way to control the flow of play and your own sequencing. And she also gets first strike as long as it's your turn. So she's a very powerful early game creature. Surak the Huntcaller, potent at 5/4. But you know, it gets formidable. So as long as you have total power 8 or greater, which isn't difficult to achieve in this deck, at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature gains haste until end of turn. So there are a number of redundancies around the haste mechanic in this deck, as you will see. But that's pointed purely towards my desire to make this deck very combat damage focused. So it is really structured around creatures. Back to the Commander Legends pulls, I've got Halana, the Keswick Ranger. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, pay 2. That creature deals damage to target creature equal to that creature's power. So another one of those creatures that relies on the power of other creatures around it. Iwamori of the Open Fist. So in some circumstances, this card is actually quite risky to play. So he's a 5/5 with trample. When he enters the battlefield, he enables your opponent to put a legendary creature from their hand onto the battlefield. So there's a little bit of risk involved. So, but you know, legendary in the color, so why not? Rakamar. So she has the ability to create 3/1 red elementals. So another card that enables the battlefield to fill out in your favor. Grand Warlord Radha. So this is the third version of Radha in the deck. I think this is Grandma Radha. I'm not too sure about that though. So same stats as Stangg, 3/4 with haste, and whenever one or more creatures you control attack, add that much mana in the Gruul colors to your mana pool, and then you don't lose those as steps and phases end. So with Halana, I've got her twin, Alena, the Keswick Trapper. So first strike 4/3, and you can add red mana equal to the greatest power among creatures that entered the battlefield under your control this turn. Get into some older legends to support Stangg. So this is Aeron the Relentless. So remember, in these days, you know, a 5/2 for 5 was considered pretty strong. Aeron himself has haste, and he can regenerate himself. Another old legend is Joven. Not great stats, but yeah, pretty useful mechanic in Commander, especially where he can destroy target non-creature artifact. So being able to go after your opponent's soul rings and signets or whatnot can be you know, very valuable and very annoying to them, which is the most important thing. Getting into a bit more modern tech, Xenagos, God of Revels. So, you know, this is a really strong legend in that he's indestructible. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, again, another target creature you control gets +X/+X, where X is that creature's power. So, you know, support for Sir Farron and Tuya Bearclaw, and all those creatures that really like to juice themselves up. Gerard of the Closed Fist, this is the Italian version, so I'm not even going to attempt to read out the flavor text, but just a good 6/5 for 6, you know, good relative to the time it was printed. And my last legend, which I was happy to pull from the Commander Legends unboxing, is Kamal, Heart of Kroza. So at the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample. Very combat heavy, very, you know, warrior-like. which, you know, suits the Stangg twins down to a T. The last couple of creatures are my non-legendary creatures. So as I said before, I've got a couple of equipments in the deck. So Champion of the Flame is intended to pick those up. Zirtad Druid for some extra mana. Garruk's Pack Leader. So this is one of those cards that combos with any creature that has power 3, of which I can produce numerous ones from the permanents in the deck. So whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So the Stangg twins alone gives you 2 draws out of that. So perfect combination. And Gemini Engine, which is Stangg twins in artifact form. So pretty expensive at 6 mana, but again, you know, matches the Stangg stats with as a 3/4. So, you know, being able to juice that up and getting multiple Gemini engines, you know, maybe even 3 or 4 Gemini engines tapped and attacking would be an ideal state for the game. Really synergizes well with the Stangg theme and with the ability to draw cards off creatures entering the battlefield. So getting into a couple of the permanents now. A lot of the permanents are, you know, artifact ramp, you know, starting with Mossfire Egg, Talisman of Impulse, a ton of the Gruul related stuff. Yeah, I've got an Armillary Sphere in here. You can tell I'm very paranoid about making sure that I have a lot of mana. So all of these cards are, you know, mana ramped with the Signet, Armillary, and, you know, 3 of the Gruul related 3 mana tappers. Fireman Vessel, I really like this card. You know, while it enters the battlefield tapped, it enables you to add 2 mana of different colors. I just really like the artwork, and I really like, you know, just as a cheap support mechanism in EDH, where things like Thran Dynamo are a little bit, you know, out of reach at this point in time. Getting into the equipment, so I'm trying to keep the equipment costs low. You know, this is really directed towards Valduk and, you know, those creatures that really rely on having their power boosted above everything else. So Trusty Machete just really suits the warrior theme. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Prying Blade, you know, kind of an odd card to put in Commander. I don't often see it being used, and for good reason. But what I like about Prying Blade is that it enables you to create treasure tokens as well. So I'm a big believer in these, you know, decks where there's a very intensive cost around your Commander and the late game creatures, of making sure you have enough mana. So Prying Blade suits both the combat theme and the ability to generate additional mana. Black Blade Reforged, just a good legendary equipment. Suits the theme really well, and there'll always be a legendary creature that I can attach it to for its low cost of 3. Sword of the Animist, another legendary equipment, so I can get that draw off Reiki. Equipped creature gets powered up, which is important, but it also enables you to ramp for lands. Hero's Blade, obvious inclusion in a deck that's chock full of legends. So whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Hero's Blade to it, and that creature gets +3/+2. Sword of the Chosen, similar kind of thing. It's a legendary artifact as well, and target legend gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So this is not an equipment per se, but you just tap it to get that cost. Very, you know, unusual. You don't really see that very often, but I really like Sword of the Chosen, and has obvious potential in this deck. I've got Mask of Memory just for some card draw, and the key card, or the piece de resistance of my artifacts, is Hero's Podium. So 5 mana, but each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature you control. Perfect in a Stangg Twins deck, and you can pay X and look at the top X cards of your library and put a legendary creature card from among them into your hand. So a good late game digging, and you know, good battlefield control there as well. The next batch of permanents are the Planeswalkers. A few of these are in here purely because they're my favorites in the color. Arlinn Kord is one, so you know, until end of turn, one target creature gets +2/+2 and gains Vigilance and Haste, and she can flip to do various things, but I mostly got her in here for that +1 ability. Samut Tyrant Smasher, she's in here primarily as a haste engine. As I keep repeating myself, haste is a very important mechanic here. Really want to make sure I can not only get those creatures down, but get them attacking as soon as possible. And Samut also enables you to juice up the power of a creature as well. Very important. And Jiang Yangu. So this is from the Global Series dual deck. Jiang Yangu is a juicer with his +1. But his second ability is very important in that he enables you to create a legendary hound token, Mowu. So he's a legendary creature generator. So another necessary inclusion in the deck for that ability in particular. His ultimate is creatures you control get +X, where X is the number of lands you control. So another very battlefield-oriented permanent. Last set of permanents are the Enchantments, Rhythm of the Wild, mostly for that ability to ensure that your creature spells can't be countered. Very underestimated. Fires of Yavimaya, again for that haste redundancy. Now Elemental Bond is Garruk's pack leader. In enchantment form, so whenever a creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Yeah, the card draw for this deck in particular is very creature oriented, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I've got Fires of Invention here. Because I'm very equipment oriented and very battlefield focused, I think late game, when I've got a lot of lands on the battlefield, being able to move equipment around and being able to juice up creatures with their activated ability is going to be very important at that point in the game. Now, the last set of spells are sorceries and instants, and the best of these is Time of Need. So you can search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So it's just made for this deck. And when's the best time for a legendary creature? And the answer to that is any time. Of course, going to need a lot of lands here, so Rampant Growth is one of the cards that's good for that. Ancient Animus, here for its legendary mechanic there. So put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control if it's legendary, then it fights target creature an opponent controls. Twin Flame, given that I've got a lot of legendary creatures in the deck, this spell isn't going to have too many targets. Only Brothers Yamazaki, probably the ideal one, and Gemini Engine would be the other one. But I feel it's sort of on theme with the ability to create replicas of something. So we get into a couple of legendary sorceries. The first is Kamal's Druidic Vow. So late game for that, when you really want to dig for Kamal himself, this is the great card for that. So it can really swing things back in your favor there. And then we get into a legendary sorcery in red. So the thing about these legendary sorceries is you must control a legendary permanent to cast them. And given that that's not going to be a problem for me, these spells are always going to be on the cards, no pun intended. Signal the Clans. So in Gruul, this card enables you to search your library for 3 creature cards and you roll or choose one at random. So good, early or late game, depending on which creature you need. And in some cases you don't really know what you need, so it's always good to take a bit of a gamble with that. And the great thing about Signal the Clans is it's an instant as well. A bit of a permanent control. Destructive Revelry is one. Hull Breach is another. I've got Gruul Charm in here for luck. Multi-purpose card there. Cultivate for some land ramp. Journey for the Elixir. So this fishes a land out of your deck and puts it into your hand rather than the battlefield, but it also enables you to search your library for that Jiang Yangu Planeswalker. So, lets you fish out 2 cards from your library, which can be a valuable thing. So Heat Shimmer, which does some copying of a target creature, but in difference to Twin Flame, it enables you to target any creature on the battlefield, so that's a bit of an advantage there. Escape to the Wilds. This is one of my favorite Gruul cards, from recent printings. I'm always a huge fan of any kind of land ramp and a bit of a card advantage, and this enables you to do both. And Regenesis, so this spell is limited to returning 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand, oriented around the enchantments and the creatures. That's a kind of a worthwhile thing and a bit more beneficial for the aims of the deck as a whole. So that's the nature of the Stangg Twins deck. Very legendary creature focused and really aiming to get the Stangg Twins down and swinging, confusing your opponents. It does have a very strong legendary creature focus. I might have gone too far in places, as George Lucas once famously said. All we can do now is test it in action and see how it goes. So I've got an EDH game planned against an opponent. And in celebration of Commander Legends, both our decks are going to be Commander Legends heavy. So hopefully that should be up on the channel soon for you to enjoy. But until then, you take care of yourself wherever you are in the world. Keep enjoying Magic. And until the next edition.